You know that feeling? You were working hard, making progress on your own path, and in a single second, you feel inadequate, left out, like you're not enough. That feeling, that is the trap. And it's the most dangerous one, because most of us don't even realize we've fallen in. We think it's just a bad day or a moment of insecurity, but it's not. It's a cycle that steals our joy, kills our motivation, and keeps us stuck. But what if you could spot that trap before you fell in? What if you could understand exactly how it works, and more importantly, how to break free for good? That's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to expose this trap, understand why it's so effective, and I'm going to give you a clear path to escape it. This isn't just a fleeting moment of envy. What you're experiencing is something far more systematic and insidious. It's called the comparison trap. At its core, the comparison trap is the destructive cycle of judging your own behind-the-scenes reality, with all its struggles, doubts, and unfinished business, against everyone else's public highlight reel. It's the internal critic that takes the raw, unedited footage of your life and contrasts it with the carefully curated and brilliantly edited movie trailer of someone else's. We have full access to our own narrative, the anxieties in the middle of the night, the projects that failed, the rejections, the messy desk, and the less-than-perfect moments. But when we look outward, especially in today's digitally connected world, we are almost exclusively presented with the finished products, the celebration posts, and the milestone announcements. We compare our entire journey, with all its necessary rough drafts and learning curves, to someone else's final, polished chapter. This trap is so dangerous precisely because it operates under the guise of a simple, almost natural, social observation. But its effects are anything but simple. First and foremost, the comparison trap is a thief of joy. It has a unique ability to rob you of the satisfaction you should rightfully feel from your own accomplishments. Let's say you finally finished a difficult project at work. You're feeling a genuine sense of pride and relief. Then you go online and see that an acquaintance has not only finished a project, but has been publicly recognized and awarded for it. Suddenly, your own achievement feels small, even meaningless. The trap minimizes your wins and amplifies your perceived losses, ensuring that no matter what you do, it never feels like quite enough. The joy you owned just moments ago has been stolen, replaced by a hollow sense of inadequacy. Secondly, this trap creates a completely false benchmark for success and happiness. The truth is, every single person is running a unique race on a track that was built specifically for them, with a different starting line and a different finish line. Your goals, your circumstances, your strengths, and your values are yours alone. But when you fall into the comparison trap, you unconsciously pick up someone else's map and try to follow it. You start chasing their definition of success, their timeline for milestones, and their version of a perfect life. This is a guaranteed path to feeling lost and disillusioned. You might be a brilliant artist on a path to finding your unique voice, but because you're comparing yourself to a successful tech CEO, you start to believe you should be raising venture capital instead of perfecting your brushstrokes. You're using the wrong map, and it will never lead you to a destination that truly fulfills you. Finally, and perhaps most destructively, the comparison trap leads to a state of paralysis. When you constantly measure your beginning against someone else's middle or end, the gap can feel so immense and insurmountable that you subconsciously ask yourself, why even bother? Why start that business if you can never be as big as the industry giant? Why create art if your first sketch won't look like a master's final piece? Why pursue a fitness goal if you'll never have the body of that professional athlete? This mindset kills motivation and innovation at the source. It convinces you that if you can't be the absolute best immediately, then your efforts are worthless. This fear of not measuring up stops you from taking the very first step the crucial messy draft, or the initial small risk that is essential for any meaningful growth or achievement. It keeps you stuck on the sidelines, watching other people's highlight reels, while your own potential story never gets a chance to be written. The first mechanism is what we can call the distortion field. This is the engine of comparison in the digital age, where we constantly interface with curated versions of other people's lives. The problem isn't just that we compare ourselves to others. It's that we are comparing our entire, unedited reality to a highly polished and selectively presented fiction. We experience our own lives in full, messy, high-definition detail. The stress of a morning rush, the uncertainty in a career choice, the arguments, the failures, the boring Tuesday afternoons. But when we look outward, especially on social media, we are presented with a greatest hits compilation. We see the graduation, not the years of stressful all-nighters. We see the announcement of the new business, not the agonizing self-doubt that preceded it. We see the picture-perfect vacation, not the argument about directions that happened 5 minutes later. This creates a profound and persistent distortion in our perception of reality. We mistakenly believe that other people's lives are a seamless stream of successes, perfect moments, and flawless achievements, while ours is uniquely chaotic and flawed. This distortion makes our own normal, human struggles feel like personal failures, rather than the universal elements of a life being lived. The second mechanism is known as the arrival fallacy. This is the belief that happiness and fulfillment exist at a future destination. We tell ourselves, I'll finally be happy when I get that promotion, lose those 20 pounds, or buy that house. We place our sense of worth and contentment on a distant horizon, making it conditional on achieving a specific goal. The trap, however, springs shut the moment we actually arrive. When you finally get that promotion, there's a brief moment of satisfaction, but it's quickly replaced by a new comparison. Now you're looking at the person who got the promotion before you, or the one who has a more prestigious title in a different company. The goalpost immediately moves. The 20 pounds are lost, but now you're comparing your body to someone with more defined muscle tone. The arrival fallacy creates a psychological hamster wheel. You run and run, believing the next milestone will be the one that brings you peace, only to find that once you reach it, a new, more distant milestone has already been established. Happiness becomes perpetually one step away, making the entire journey feel like a race you can never truly win, because the finish line is an illusion. The third mechanism that locks us in the comparison trap is a psychological quirk known as the spotlight effect, but turned inward on our own journeys. We are so hyper-focused on evaluating and judging the progress of others that we mistakenly believe they are scrutinizing us with the same intensity. We imagine a spotlight is constantly shining on our own perceived shortcomings, our slow progress, and our unconventional paths. We hesitate to share our early efforts in a new skill because we assume everyone will judge our beginner status as harshly as we do. We feel a sense of shame for not being further along in our careers, convinced that our peers are noticing and measuring our every move. The truth is, most people are far too preoccupied with their own races, their own highlight reels, and their own feelings of inadequacy to be critically focused on yours. The judgment we fear is so often a projection of the judgment we are casting on ourselves and others. This self-consciousness is a powerful deterrent. It prevents us from putting our work out there, from taking creative risks, and from walking our own authentic path for fear of a critical audience that, in reality, is largely a figment of our own comparative imagination. The most immediate and personal cost of chronic comparison is the toll it takes on our mental and emotional well-being. When your sense of worth is constantly measured against an external and ever-changing standard, it creates a foundation of perpetual insecurity. This state of constant self-evaluation fuels chronic anxiety, as you feel you are never quite enough and must constantly catch up to a moving target. Over time, this erodes self-esteem, chipping away at your confidence until you internalize the belief that you are fundamentally lacking. This often morphs into what is known as imposter syndrome, the pervasive feeling that you are a fraud, that your accomplishments are a matter of luck, and that you will eventually be exposed as incompetent. You dismiss your own hard-won achievements because someone else, in your mind, has achieved more or done it better. The mental energy that should be directed toward living your life is instead consumed by the exhausting work of monitoring your position relative to others, leaving you in a state of persistent psychological fatigue and self-doubt. This erosion of confidence has a direct and stifling impact on your capacity for creativity and growth. True innovation and personal development require a willingness to take risks, to experiment, and to be comfortable with the messy, uncertain process of learning. The comparison trap kills this spirit of exploration at its root. If your primary concern is measuring up, you become terrified of failure, of looking foolish, or of producing work that isn't immediately brilliant. This fear is paralyzing. It convinces you that it's safer not to try at all than to try and fall short of an idealized standard. Consequently, you stop being a pioneer of your own potential and become a follower, replicating what seems safe and proven rather than contributing your unique perspective. Your creative voice is silenced before it can even speak, and your growth is stunted because you will not allow yourself the necessary grace to be a beginner, to make mistakes, and to learn through the process. The damage also extends outward, poisoning our relationships with the very people we connect with. When you are trapped in a comparative mindset, another person's good fortune is no longer just a happy event. It becomes a measuring stick for your own life. The promotion your friend celebrates, the new house a colleague buys, or the personal milestone a family member reaches can unconsciously trigger a sense of threat rather than shared joy. This breeds resentment and envy, emotions that are corrosive to genuine connection. Instead of feeling happiness for others, you may find yourself feeling diminished by their success, leading to withdrawal, passive-aggressive behavior, or a competitive undercurrent in relationships that should be built on support and mutual respect. You begin to see your peers not as companions on a journey, but as rivals in a competition you never signed up for, isolating you within a network that should be a source of strength and comfort. Ultimately, the most profound consequence of staying stuck in this cycle is the potential derailment of your entire life path. When you outsource your definition of success to external benchmarks, you risk building a life that looks impressive on the outside but feels hollow on the inside. You might relentlessly pursue a high-status career, a large salary, or a specific lifestyle, not because it aligns with your authentic passions and values, but because it is what you believe will finally earn you the validation and standing you crave. You are following a script written by society, your family, or your peers, rather than listening to your own inner compass. The tragedy is that you could spend years or even decades climbing a ladder of achievement, only to reach the top and realize it was leaning against the wrong wall all along. The cost is a life of quiet desperation, marked by a lingering feeling of emptiness, because you have been chasing goals that were never truly your own to begin with. The first and most critical step in freeing yourself is to fundamentally reframe how you perceive the success of others. This begins by consciously switching from a mindset of comparison to one of inspiration. The trap tells you that someone else's win is your loss, that their spotlight dims your own. The escape route involves rejecting the zero-sum thinking, instead of the defeating thought. Their success means I'm a failure. You can choose the empowering question. Their success shows me what's possible. What can I learn from them? This subtle shift moves you from a position of passive jealousy to one of active curiosity. The next time you feel that familiar pang of comparison, use it as a trigger. Pause and ask yourself two deliberate questions. First, what specific thing about this person or situation genuinely inspires me? Is it their discipline, their creativity, their courage? And second, what is one small, actionable step I can take today to move in a direction that aligns with that inspiration? This transforms a negative emotional trigger into a source of fuel for your own journey, channeling that energy inward toward your own growth rather than outward in resentment. To build a solid foundation for this new mindset, we must actively cultivate an awareness of our own abundance through the practice of conscious gratitude. Comparison thrives on a sense of lack, constantly pointing out what you don't have. Gratitude is its direct antidote, systematically redirecting your focus to the value of what you do have. This isn't about naive positivity. It's a strategic rewiring of your attention. By taking time each day to actively acknowledge the progress you've made, the support systems you have, the lessons you've learned, and the simple comforts in your life, you begin to shrink the perceived power of what others possess. Your own journey, with all its unique blessings and hard-won battles, starts to feel more substantial and real. This practice builds an internal fortress of appreciation that makes you less vulnerable to the external winds of social comparison, allowing you to acknowledge others' successes without feeling that your own life is diminished by them. With this foundation, you can then begin the most liberating work of all, defining and running your own race. For too long, you may have been following a map drawn by someone else, society, your family, or your peers. It is time to draw your own. This requires deep, honest reflection on what success and happiness truly mean to you, separate from any external validation. A powerful question to guide this is, if no one was ever going to see or applaud my work, what would I still want to create or do? The answer to this cuts through the noise of expectation and reveals your authentic passions. Your race is unique. Your goals, your timeline, and your definition of the finish line are yours alone to determine. When you are clear on your own values and purpose, the progress of others becomes irrelevant to your path. It becomes background noise, not a measuring stick. You are no longer running on their track. You are pioneering your own. To support this internal shift, you must also take concrete action to curate your external environment, particularly your digital inputs. Your mind is a sacred space, and what you allow into it consistently shapes your thoughts and feelings. It is not an overstatement to say that your social media feed is a part of your mental diet. You must become a vigilant guardian of this space. This means actively unfollowing, muting, or distancing yourself from accounts, people, or even news sources that consistently trigger feelings of inadequacy, anxiety, or envy. This is not an act of rudeness or weakness. It is an act of necessary self-preservation and self-respect. You are not obligated to consume content that makes you feel bad about your life. By deliberately shaping a digital environment that supports, educates, and genuinely inspires you, you remove constant triggers and make it exponentially easier to maintain your new, healthier mindset. Finally, the sustaining fuel for this entire journey is the consistent celebration of your small wins. We often fall into the comparison trap because we are so focused on the distant, monumental achievements of others that we overlook the significance of our own daily progress. Your journey is not made in one giant leap, but in thousands of small, consistent steps. Each one deserves recognition. Finished a tough workout? That is a win. Finally tackled a difficult paragraph in a report? That is a win. Spent an hour learning a new skill? That is a win. By actively acknowledging and celebrating these micro-achievements, you accomplish two vital things. First, you build momentum, training your brain to associate your efforts with feelings of reward and satisfaction. Second, You reinforce the evidence of your own progress, proving to yourself that you are moving forward on your own path. This practice keeps you connected to the joy of the process itself, making the journey toward your larger goals feel fulfilling and empowering, rather than like a desperate race you are doomed to lose. The comparison trap is a powerful and pervasive force, one that can quietly steal our joy and derail our potential. But as we've seen, it is not inescapable. The journey out of it begins with a single, profound realization that the only person you are ever truly competing with is the person you were yesterday. Your journey is not about being better than anyone else. It is about the continuous, meaningful work of becoming a better, more authentic version of yourself. This internal benchmark is the only one that offers genuine growth and lasting fulfillment. To truly internalize this, it helps to think of yourself as a unique and irreplaceable recipe. Comparing yourself to someone else is as illogical as a rich, decadent chocolate cake looking at a savory, cheesy pizza and feeling inadequate for not being salty enough. The cake's value lies in its sweetness, its moisture, its ability to be the perfect celebration dessert. The pizza's value is in its savory toppings, its crisp crust, its role as a comforting meal. Their purposes are different, and their ingredients are not meant to be the same. You, too, are made of specific ingredients: your talents, your passions, your experiences, your perspective. These are not meant to be identical to anyone else's. Your flavor is needed in the world. So stop wasting energy wishing you were a different dish, and stop the madness of comparing your Chapter 3, with all its setting development and character building, to someone else's Chapter 20, where the plot has already thickened and the climax has been reached. Your story is still being written, and every chapter is essential. This is where we turn awareness into action. The next time you feel that familiar creep of comparison, I want you to pause and do one simple, powerful thing. I want you to name one win. Just one. It doesn't have to be monumental. Did you finally clear out your inbox? That's a win. Did you have a difficult conversation with grace? That's a win. Did you choose a healthy meal or take a walk? Did you simply get out of bed on a hard day? That is a win. I want you to claim it. To make it real, put it in the comments below. Share one small thing you did this week that you're proud of. I would genuinely love to see it and celebrate it with you. Let's fill this space with evidence of our own progress. And if you're ready to go deeper on mastering your mindset and building a life you're truly proud of, make sure to subscribe to the channel for daily reminders and insights. You can also follow me on social media. The journey to reclaiming your peace and your path starts with a single step, and you've already taken it by being here today.